Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. We are back. We are back with Brandon Foster over in, I can never say the town,
Ballymena.
Ballymena Island. Brandon has been kind enough he is reading my book, Always Pick Last, and we are putting this on audio. These are bonus chapters of bonus content for each chapter. We are now on, what are we doing today? Chapter 6 and chapter 7, Brandon?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, so let's dive into chapter 6. So what are your questions, my friend?
Okay, number 1. How long did it take for you to start focusing in school after your father's death?
Whoa. That's a good question. I don't really know. I wish I could tell you I could remember that. He died in February 19th. And to be honest, that 4, 5, 6 months was kind of a blur. So I don't even remember. I don't remember. I don't remember anything about that 6, 7 months. That whole from after his funeral on, I don't remember much. I honestly don't.
Fair enough. I mean, you've remembered so many tiny details that you're obviously going to forget some things because it's a long time ago. Yeah.
But I honestly don't. I don't even think I really talk about it in the book. Yeah, I don't. That was like, yeah. It was almost the only thing I could say is it was surreal. It almost felt like it wasn't happening to me, like it wasn't real. Like I just had a client that unfortunately over the summer lost his son, who was 24, to an ATV accident, freak accident. And they just put the headstone up because the weather and everything else. And he goes, it really kind of made it finality, Kevin. Finality. He's got 3 other boys and I trained his boys, and hardest funeral I've ever gone to since my father died. Absolutely.
It sort of feels like a fever dream almost.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit, and that's what he needed. That's what happens with clients. That's what they need sometimes. He didn't need a workout. He needed to spill his guts. All right, what's your next question, my friend?
Okay. Last time we talked about your coping mechanism for your dad's passing, which was karate and other martial arts. How did your mother cope with it? What did she do?
She just kept going to work. She just kept getting up. And she did what a mother does. She was superhuman, like the song by Rennie Carroll. She was superhuman. She just kept doing her thing. At one point, she kind of had to push me away, when I kept going to her and kind of make me stand on my own 2 feet. She kept a lot of her stuff, a lot of her grief private. I mean, she never remarried, and she just passed away due to COVID on her 92nd birthday. And it was an honor to be the proxy, which means I make the decisions about, what to do and basically to pull the plug in a sense, because I had to make the decision. She wasn't going to survive. As you know, in the book, she did not wake me up, which I've always harbored somewhat of a resentment, which it's taken me 42 years up until her death to bury that, to literally bury it, like to not be like, why don't you, I never really asked her the question, why don't you wake me up? Why don't you wake me up? She thought I couldn't, she thought I was too young or whatever. And, maybe she thought I was too young, yet I wasn't too young to have somebody have his father die on him. So it's like, she did. And when you get older and you have kids, and you know what, you're going to make decisions with your kids that may not be the best. And parenting doesn't come with a manual. So it is what it is. My dad's ring has been on for 42 years. I don't take it off. And if I hit people with my right cross or my right elbow, they're not getting back up. I always say the whole Kearns clan is going to punch him in the face if needed.
In chapter you talked about how your auntie and also your mum gave you presents, and it was actually your father's some of his what was it, like cuffs and also the ring, and you had it in a chain to put around your neck.
Yeah, one didn't fit me, and they gave me like his tie clips, and I don't know if you're at that chapter, but I used to walk to his grave like constantly.
Yeah.
I talked to him, and at 54 now, I've always sat there and known that he's had my back. For whatever you could say, I've just known, like anything went sideways, that little voice would be in me. I swear it's my dad. And like, yeah, Kevin, yeah, I don't know if you want to do that, or, when I didn't want to do something, he'd be like, go for it. Just do it. Just swing. Just do it. Well, it was like that extra push. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Question 3. As you grew older, did you ever think of a reason behind Tony's anger towards you?
No.
Nothing.
Nope. No. I mean, you know what? Middle kid syndrome. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is he was a jerk. Made me feel worthless. Made me feel uncomfortable. It was like walking on eggshells. And I've had it even, in my present life. Going through a messy divorce and going through all that crap. And I'm like, I swore when I was younger I would never go through that again. Walking around on eggshells. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I never concerned myself with any of them. I'm like, you know what? They were jerks. Whatever happened at home was their problem. And they knew they were being jerks. And it's kind of funny because one of the guys, because they're all different names, one of the guys actually got my book. I reached out to him one day because he posted something on Facebook, and I reached out to him. He's like, "Hey, Kevin, how are you? What's up, Bob?" I don't know who he is in the book. He's the guy. That's the kid that pushed my hand in the paint. What's up, Bob? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know
completely. So he was completely like flabbergasted. I haven't spoken to him in years. His sister had a thing for me for a while. Renee, good kid. Too bad that we never connected because she was a good kid. And we're talking a little bit. He's like, "Hey, I read your book," and I'm like, "Uh-huh." And he's a typical, like, I hate to say it, but typical, slightly out of shape 50-year-old. And here I am. I look about 35. I'm in shape. I'm better shape than 35-year-olds. I'm training UFC fighters and the whole 9 yards. So he knows who I am. He's like, "I guess I had a hand in that." I go, "Yeah, you did. You did. You had a hand in that." He's like, "Well, and then he kind of made an excuse. "Well, boys will be," I was hoping he would be like, "Yeah, I was an asshole." He's like, "Well, boys will be boys," and blah, blah, blah. I go, "Okay, Bob, whatever." And that was it. Every once in a while, he'll reach out to me. "Hey, how you doing?" He felt bad, but it's like, you know what? How about step up to the plate? You were a jerk. You guys attacked me, when I was down. My father was dead. And then you continue to do shit to my mother's house, my mother's car. Really? So I really don't care what was going on at home. You know what? Even at young age, I knew right and wrong. I made my mistakes, but I knew right and wrong. So what else you got for me?
I heard even your mother using that "boys will be boys" argument, as well as that same sort of stuff. Yeah. For chapter 7, in this chapter, you talked about how Tony and his gang beat you up in the street. Was it after this that you realized that you had to do something about Tony and his little gang of?
Was that the pink? Was that the pink pants in the puddle?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was.
Yeah, that's still at 54. I can still taste the leaves in the dirt. Still. Yeah. But I was 11 at the time. My father hadn't passed yet. I'll taste that. And I remember 100% about that, but I'm almost positive Tony's brother came over because it felt like it went on for hours. They just kept throwing me in the puddle, pushing my face down, and just kept going on and on. And just sitting there, I'm like, and then you start praying, like, I wish somebody would come along and help me with the hell. And it wasn't like one of them; it was like 4 or 5 of them. I had no chance. And I just, to this day, and any I get really wigged out. I tell, now being single and the whole bit, I tell women, I go out with them, I go, "Look, here's how you describe me. It's real simple. 4 things. I have the tenacity of Batman, the character of Captain America, the chivalry of Lancelot, and the goofiness of Spider-Man. That's me." I said, "That's me. I'm not the biggest, I'm not the toughest, but what I have is, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. I won't quit. When I see injustice, forget it. Whether it's an animal, woman, kid, forget it. You know, I hear rape, I'm not going to turn away. I'm going to call the cops and run to wherever it is. Most people look away. You know, you have to, and it's the martial art warrior mentality, right? It's the Bushido virtues, you know, the seven Bushido virtues, the seven virtues of Bushido. It's all that. It's you know, it's I know how devastating it may be who I am, but at the same token, I know how devastating that experience is, to feel belittled, to feel worthless, to feel subhuman, to feel like you don't belong at a time where it was awful. It's bad enough if you have both parents, but and going through middle school. I mean, I would never want to repeat middle school and high school. High school got good for me probably around 15 to 16. But before that, sucked.
Yeah.
You know, seventh grade sucked, eighth grade sucked, ninth grade sucked, until like I started really being in the studio. The studio was my temple. I mean, I was there constantly. And then when I started lifting weights, I was at the gym constantly. It was my saving grace. And like I say, when you get to the 4S formula, speak up, stand up, stay together, self-defense, stay together. I got with like-minded people. I got with martial art guys that would take me in and that's the camaraderie you have, as you know. I got with weightlifting buddies that were older, and I use my father's rapport skills to like have older guys like help me. Hey, Kev, you want to see this? Let me show you this, Kevin. Let me show you this, because a lot of the guys and some of the gym was kind of like, it was a small community gym. They were like, they knew what was going on and they felt bad for me. They would take me aside. Like you'll hear about this guy Louis Nuzzo, who would never call me Kevin, always call me Kid. Hey, Kid, is that kid giving you a hard time? Here's what I want you to do. You know, do this, do that, and it was people like that that kind of helped me along. And then obviously, I don't know if I mentioned this chapter, but took me underneath his wing to kind of like protect me the whole time. He was like an outcast because he was like a 60s throwback, you know, he beard, scruffy guy, didn't wear a suit to the job. And he took me under his wing and like my problems, people like that. So you get smarter about hanging out with the right people, you know. They're like, yeah, these people really aren't good for me, you know. They're not really good for me, you know. Go ahead.
Regarding the whole justice thing you were talking about there, do you think it'd be like that if it wasn't for all these things that happened in your childhood?
You mean how I don't like injustice?
Yeah.
I had a sense of that when I was a kid. You know, I grew up Catholic the whole bit. My parents knew, you know, you knew right and wrong. You know right and wrong. I mean, of course, when you get older, teenage-wise, you get into trouble with shit. And it's just normal stuff. You know, you do stupid stuff you shouldn't do, and then you figure it out. You know, it's like that famous saying, you know, how do you know what failure is until you fall down? You know, you got to figure it out. How do you know what sharp is until you cut yourself? How do you know what hot is until you burn yourself? Doesn't matter how many times your parents tell you, you're still going to burn yourself until you go, okay, that was hot. I shouldn't touch the stove. Duh. And then, you know, and it's weird because, you know, people will say, oh, wait, people have been saying this for like 5-6 years. You know, you're right about that, coach. You're right about that, Kevin. I don't want to be right. I'm not trying to be right. And I don't know what that's in us that we have to be right. What mentality that comes from us. It's not about being right. It's about telling the truth. It's about being effective. Yeah, I'm not telling you, if I tell you to do something as your coach, I'm not trying to tell you just that you're right and I'm wrong. I'm trying to tell you to be effective for you. I'm trying to tell you the truth. This is my experience. This is what happens to me. You know, so if anybody says, if anybody's trying to one up you, I told you, when they say I told you so, I'm like, really? Really? You know what? This is a Dr. Wayne Dyer approach. You know, there is no such thing as failure. You just produce some results you didn't expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds something a lot like what my old principal in my primary school, which would be like, I think that would be elementary school for you. I'm not too sure. That's what sounds like something that he used to say. He was a very wise man, actually.
That's what a teacher or a coach should be. You know? Yeah. Do you have to yell in people's faces every once in a while? Yeah, once in a while, but you can't do that every day. You can't do that every day. You know, you got to appeal to their smart side. Like, I would be a good principal because I'd be like, Brandon, was that really the smartest thing to do for you? You're like, no principal, no coach. I'm like, okay, did you learn your lesson? Yes, coach. Okay. Then you don't say, well, I told you. No, you don't say that. You take the emotion out of it.
Yeah, something my old principal used to say is that it's actually good to make mistakes because as long as you learn from them and then you can improve, stuff like that.
Well, exactly. One of my favorite quotes, I say it a lot, is Thomas Edison. I found 999,000 ways how to not make a light bulb.
Yeah.
He didn't say 10,000 failures. He said 900. That's not how he thought.
You know a lot of quotes, Kevin.
Like
You've memorized a lot.
I have one of those goofy memories. Like, I'm a movie freak. I'm a listening freak. Your dad's a bookworm. I'm really not. I can get distracted. I'm probably 20% of my stuff, 25% comes from books. The rest of it, I listen. I'm a big listener. You know, that's how my company started. From one cassette, Zig Ziglar, see you at the top. And I burnt the cassette out. And I'll do it over. I'll listen to stuff over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I'll watch a movie. If I like a movie, I'll watch it over. People are like, why are you watching that again? I go, because it's good. And plus, the other thing I got into is when I was younger, in my like 19, 20, I got wicked bad anxiety from this girl I was dating, and I started having like anxiety issues around food. So the way I got out of it is I would watch movies while I ate because there was no commercials. So you get absorbed in a movie, and it basically put my mind someplace else. It worked.
Yeah. No, talking about your listening, watching things over and over. I do that quite a lot myself. Like when it comes to shows, TV shows especially, like long running ones like The Office or Big Bang Theory, I would watch them over and over just because I like them. They're funny. I like watching them. They're good shows. They're well written.
Exactly. I was a big fan of Friends. I could watch it over and over again. Seinfeld, you know, that was another. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Friends, Seinfeld. My father was into MASH because he was in Korea. That was a comedy about the Korean War. You name it. You want to watch some funny stuff from the 70s? Have you 70s and 80s? Taxi, one of the funniest shows there is. Funniest shows it is. You can find it on Netflix. Taxi, and you've got Seinfeld, and you've got Friends. You've got what else? You know, we grew up like with Good Times, and we grew up at Sanford and Son, and you know all that other stuff. Yeah, if it's good, it's good. Like you know, like Netflix put out a series on Jack Ryan, and I've probably watched it twice, both seasons, because it's well written. It's engaging, and I like it. Like I just watched another movie the other day called Extraction, and it's the guy who played Thor.
I watched that. It was very good. It was very good.
The fight scenes were like off the chain.
Yeah. The one shot scene, like the one shot scenes where everything was done just in one shot. That was incredible. Yeah.
That's like, I can't tell you how many times I've watched The Bourne Identity. One of my favorite
I've
movies.
seen a few of those.
I mean, the second one wasn't good because the first one they pulled the camera back so you can see the action. The second one they didn't, but the third and fourth one they pulled the camera back. I want to see the action. I want to see it. You know, that's what I've always liked about Bruce Lee movies. You can see the action. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched Return of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon. I mean, come on, I can't tell you. Chinese Connection, you know, all those movies.
I like myself. I like a lot of horror stuff. I don't know why. I get it from my dad, like horror stuff.
Oh,
like Walking Dead. I love it.
Yeah, that's not. I can see being into that, but like horror movies, not my appeal.
They can be kind of. You have to sort of get the right one. Some of them can be really good, and then others can just be yeah.
Well, the ones that I like, I'm a sci-fi nut. So
yeah.
Star Trek, Aliens, shit like that. Always like one of
Star
my favorite
Wars.
movies. So absolutely, but I'm talking like almost the horror alien thing. Like one of my favorite horror alien movies is Aliens. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that with Sigourney Weaver. I can't tell you. I mean, that was like so well done. And then you look at other movies like Terminator, and you look at other movies like, you know, obviously Star Wars. I've seen a bazillion times.
Oh, I read a lot of books. I don't really enjoy. I've never been a big book guy, but I've always liked Stephen King. pet cemetery and stuff like that. So I don't
Yeah.
know, something about it. It's just like really creepy. I just like
No,
that.
I'm not into that. The creepy factor doesn't do it for me. But the
Oh,
same
so-
token, I can't. But at the same token, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Jaws, even though
yeah,
it
I
freaked me
think I
out. It freaked
saw
me
the
out.
first Jaws.
So good.
Next question. With that incident in the street with the puddle and the pink pants, were you given any like actual serious injuries from that? Because it sounded quite horrific. Like it sounded pretty bad.
No, it was more mental and emotional.
Mhm.
All more, very much more mental and emotional.
Yeah, I can see how, because it was it was just the way you described it really good. So you did in the book.
Well, thanks to Kit Birmingham, she interviewed me, so it was rough.
Last question.
Sure.
Yeah. Last question. Did Tony's big brother hang out with Tony a lot and his gang, or did he just happen to be around to stop them, like just around the area?
I don't know how that happened. To this day, I don't. Michael was his name, and he was a number of years older. And back then, people started getting into CBs, CB radios, and he was very into like cowboy stuff. And he used to wear a cowboy hat. He used to wear a cowboy hat around the city, and that was his nickname. And he was a big kind of kid, and I don't even know how it happened. He didn't hang around with it much, but he was in the neighborhood, and it was a very closed neighborhood, and he saw it, and he knew it was wrong. I mean, he came over, pushed them aside, and picked me up. And he's like, he's had enough. Leave him alone. And he brought me to my mother. And I was so mad at her. I'm like yelling.
He seemed very different from Tony, even though the brother.
I yelled at my mother saying, "Yeah, I told you the pink pants, what would happen." She didn't listen to me. You still there, Brandon?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was just cutting out just a little bit. Oh.
Hold on, let me move down the street. It's the area. How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it for today. That's all to chapter 6 and chapter 7.
Excellent. Good job. All right. This is Coach Kevin Kearns and future coach Brandon Foster.
Thanks.
My I guess what do we call you? My linguist, something like that. Is that what we call you?
No idea.
My interpreter, my Boston interpreter.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, sounds good. That sounds very professional.
All right. So what do you cup? The K. You gotta understand the double K. The double K.
Double K. Right, okay. Right. See you next time.
Cheers. Yep.